Go ahead, Ivan. Start.
Welcome. This is Ivan Sanchez, and you're listening to a podcast that doesn't have a name yet. I'm Ivan Sanchez, as I just said, with my co-host.
Alejandro, aka Alex. Yep. Alejandro Gutierrez. Yep.
Alex, how you doing today?
Good, man. Busy finishing up the school year. So my first day of summer is right now. Well, first hours of summer right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Love to hear it, baby. Get that nice Sacramento summer. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Sacramento summer?
Sacktown summer. We're definitely gonna get a. I'm working summer school, so I don't feel like I'm getting a break. I'm gonna go back to work tomorrow, but it's a different vibe for sure.
Cool. Well, we decided to start a new project, Alex and I. Alex has a really successful other podcast, and we're definitely going to hear more about that through there. And just through our talking to each other and communicating, I've been a guest on this podcast before, and we talked soccer, and we said, you know what, let's start this new venture for ourselves. And we said, let's see how it goes, and kind of figured it'd be a good opportunity this summer to start off. You just had the Nations Cup wrap up. You have a Euro starting this week as well. You have Copa America starting. So there's a lot going on. And with this club season just ending, we figured this would be a really good opportunity to start a new adventure for both of us that we're both really excited about and are both really looking forward to do. We don't have a name yet. We've come up with some ideas, but when we do figure it out, we'll get a name here soon, right?
It should be by the time we post this, is gonna have to have a name because we gotta host it somewhere. But yeah, man, no, I appreciate you reaching out. It was on my mind for the last since day one, right? But I started a podcast kind of avoiding the soccer theme to kind of just give myself the idea what a podcast would be. And a good friend of mine told me like you're gonna work harder if it's not something you are like, it's not your super passion, right? It's something you kind of like. I was kind of seeing it as a job, to be honest. So I was like taking it, very serious. And now that I have like 50 episodes under my belt, soccer has like it's been this little thing that's bugging me. Like I want to do soccer, because that's what I want to talk about. So, it's a cool way to kind of say, get away from that. I'm not going to stop my other podcast, but I'm glad that you reached out and kind of just hit at the right time, man. Let's roll. So I thank you for thinking of that. I've been thinking of doing it. I know I needed to have co-host. I just, couldn't find someone that was down yet or raise their hand. So I'm glad you did. All right, sorry, topic. Go ahead.
And then said, let's do it. And this gave us a perfect opportunity, right?
You're cutting that whole. Go ahead.
So yeah, we're gonna just dive right into the first topic of this idea of this whole project now we're doing. And I think we couldn't have asked for a more perfect event to kind of kick us off with this, something that you're interested in, I'm interested in, the Nations League finals, CONCACAF tournament made up a couple years ago for a cash grab, but it could not worked out better for the CONCACAF people when you get US Mexico in a final. So before we talked about the actual game, what was your feelings before the game?
I'm getting a little tired of the that cash grab because it's not getting. I don't know. I was excited because there's going to be a game, right? I was excited because there's going to be a competitive game after over a year because of the pandemic. But definitely, just like looking at it, and obviously we know what CONCACAF had to do, and it wasn't. I think you are blaming CONCACAF for doing that, like, it's like they just want a money grab, but they almost had to do the Nations League only because Europe did it, right? And so when Europe did it, that stopped the European teams from coming to the United States to do friendlies, right? And so that pretty much what the U.S. what people was trying to do, right, was get away with like those friendlies, right? So if they got rid of the friendlies, then you wouldn't have a Mexico, Holanda, right? You wouldn't have a U.S., Italy, So because of those games, CONCACAF almost was forced to do a Nations League, right? And obviously, the ties are not there to play in Copa America. There's just so many broken, severed ties that, like, I guess this is all we got, right? It's like another tournament, like you said, it's an off year. So I don't know. I was excited because we get to see a competitive game, but I'm also could see how players are like, man, this is too much, because especially with this year, you got this game, and then you got the Gold Cup coming up, and then you got World Cup qualifiers all within like less than half a year. So yeah, I guess I was just excited because we're going to see a game on TV finally. Yeah.
Yeah, so this game was supposed to take part last year, right? This
Right.
semifinals, finals, USA beat Honduras in the 89th minute on Thursday. Mexico won PKs over Costa Rica. But that all these games were supposed to take part last year because of the pandemic. They got pushed forward to this year. And so I'm kind of thinking about, I was like, I don't really want to, I was kind of skeptical of the games and just, I wasn't feeling it. And then as time got closer and that Sunday rolls around, and then I'm watching the pregame, and then I'm on Twitter, and then I'm seeing the excitement, and then I fell into it. I'm a sucker. I fell into the early time kickoff and watched 40 minutes of pregame.
Man, they
You know
got
what I mean?
you. Marcelo
I was,
Balboa.
and I got completely hooked in. When the team started coming out, I was in, and when the anthems played, I was in, and I was fully immersed, and everything I thought of leading up to it had been completely gone because it's been so long that I had watched Mexico play a meaningful game. It had been so long that I could cheer against the USA in a Mexico USA game. So all the pageantry and everything made me remember how much I just like missed that.
Yeah.
So right at halftime when the kickoff hit, I was like, I'm in.
And then obviously that right when you sit down, then Tecatito steals the ball and scores within a minute. So you definitely like, okay, this is gonna be dope. Yeah, no, I'm with you too, man. I think definitely just getting that vibe, and then like it's a kind of a perfect storm of like the post-pandemic, right? We're like getting towards the end of this pandemic. There's people in the seats, a good number of them, 40,000, right? And then like you said, seeing US, the hype behind the US team, and then Pulisic, winning, his team, winning the Champions League. He didn't win the Champions League. His team won the Champions League. And so they're making a big deal about that. And so it was like a good little like perfect storm for the TV, for Univision, and everybody. It was exciting. It was cool. It was on a Sunday too, so it was like, there's nothing else to really do but watch that. So I mean, it wasn't the Mayweather fight, but yeah, like I said, I was excited to finally see like a competitive game for sure.
Absolutely. And then what transpires the next hour or the next 100 and almost 30 minutes is just what I would consider like peak CONCACAF soccer. Like I think if you were to describe like your friend, or let's say the person I live with, they're from Belgium, so they have never experienced a U.S. versus Mexico game. I think there could not have been a more quintessential CONCACAF event in the way that hour or the 130 minutes transpired than what we saw from that game.
Yeah. No, it was definitely some people are like shocked, right? I'm on Twitter, like I read people, I don't troll anyone, but I read people's things, and people are shocked of like certain behaviors. Like, you've not been to a game, have you not seen a game before? And so to me, it was very normal, very something that we see, especially like something you see in Copa Oro, kind of, because obviously we never had that kind of vibe. But I've been to numerous Mexico USA games, and I've seen a lot of CONCACAF games, and the issue is, I think, to me, issue goes back to like is refereeing, right? And so it doesn't help that like the third best league is probably, what would you say, Costa Rica, right? It's probably the third best league in CONCACAF. And so if you don't bring a ref from there, then you're going to bring someone that's refereeing in a league that's very inferior to the leagues that we are the players playing. And so and the pressure is there, right? The players don't make it easier. The players are doing their thing, and so yeah, man, it was very like people try to say CONCACAF, it was very normal, man. It was very like, it kind of reminded me like little Panama USA, Panama Mexico, made up handball, that kind of game where it was like there was like no soccer going on for like more than 40 minutes. Like it was just a bunch of standing around and waiting for replays and stuff. It was weird.
Yeah, I think the way I would describe it is, I think if I was 25, a little younger, and I'd just been vaccinated, and this is my first time that I've gone out in a long time, I think that soccer experience that I had Sunday would kind of be the equivalent of me going out for the first time to a large gathering,
Right.
where I'm like, at first I'm like, oh, this is great, this is perfect. And then by the end of it, I had been there too long, and it was time for me to go home, and I was tired of it, and it was a lot. But let's instead of watch, now that we've gotten the whole idea of what we experienced as the game, first half, Mexico comes out, scores in the first 2 minutes. The pressure from Lozano, the pressure from Tecatito to create a mistake for the USA backline, early goal. Mexico looked like they were cooking. Mexico were pressuring from the back to the front, pushing back the USA, making them feel really uncomfortable. How'd you feel before we get into the how'd you feel the first 20 minutes of the game?
I think that's what Tata drew up. I think maybe the strategy was that, like, they're not gonna play with the 9. Mexico is gonna attack, but it was definitely like that like you were saying, putting the pressure on their defenders, which we know, like, a lot of these US guys are very athletic, but coming out of the back is probably not their forte. And so I think that was like almost planned out. It was like, hey, let's steal and go. I feel like what we saw against Costa Rica at the game before, where it was like a little counter with Linus in it. I think that's something that, like, Tata probably, like, said, like, that's how we could beat USA. That's how we could, like, get through them, and that we don't have to possess all the way through. I think so. Definitely the first 20 minutes, man, that pressure was high. That pressure was like all up on them, stealing the ball and going. And I think that was drawn up perfectly. I think that's what it was. I think if that's what Tata was drawing out for sure. Like, let's steal and go. You know what I mean? And it worked out. Like, literally, when he stole it, I was like, oh, it's a wrap. And you kept seeing it. You kept seeing, like, the midfield, and everyone kind of said the midfield was going to run. Midfield was going to do better than the U.S. midfield, and they did. Mexico's midfield was all over the ball, and I think definitely that's what we saw the first 20 minutes for sure. Steal and go.
Yeah, I think they found a gap in the U.S. defense that they exploited really well. They kind of allowed Chucky to play a false 9 and to kind of find these little these gaps in between the center backs wherever they were to kind of keep floating between them, looking for those balls long across them, and it was working out really well. And then so the first big decision comes around the 20th minute. Don't remember the exact minute, but corner kick. Mexico plays it short. USA kind of pulls it back a little bit. Cross comes in. Hector Moreno puts in a goal in the head. VAR checks it, gets called back. You made a really good point. It looked like he looked onside by the defender's last back foot that kind of kept him online.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, in real time it looked offsides, but you had a really good point that, like, when the ball was kicked, it actually stopped right there. That, like, he probably was onside, because the way the VAR should work is that if it's 50-50, should go to it has to be conclusive. And that was
like the NFL. It should be, if you can't have anything to overturn it, then don't overturn it, right? It should be like the NFL, where it's like, if we don't have enough to overturn it, then we just have to go with the call that was made on the field. You know what I mean? Because it's almost like the referee was just, he loved the VAR. He was like, I'm not even a ref. I just let the VAR do it. And that's literally what it was doing. Like, let the VAR do it. And when I saw the goal, it looked outside, but when I saw the replay, I was like, I was yelling at the TV, like, no, his back foot. So I don't know. I'm going to stick with that one. I think he was on, and I think it wasn't enough to say he was off. That was me. It wasn't enough to say that.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I think at first I thought even like right after when they showed the replay real quick, I'm like, oh, he's off. And the whole next day I thought he was off. So I watched it again. I kind of take your turn now, where I think he was on. And then a minute later, so it's offsides, still 1-0. A minute later, USA gets a corner, and now begins the first of a continued problem that Mexico has, where McKennie goes in, gets a header, wins in the air, off the post. Reyna's there to put it away, right, 4 yards out, and literally a minute or two after Mexico almost took a 2-0 lead. Now USA are 1-1, and now they're gaining whole new confidence. They've just got new life.
They got new life because they weren't in the game, right? They literally were 1 second away from being 2-0 without having any attack, right? Without having anything really, like, showing for it. And so, and that's on the referees. And so it's like, and right when that happened, you're like, in your head, like, dude, that's how you lose the game. Literally, that's how you lose the game, because you have a 2-0 lead, and a minute later they score. And so it's all about time management. I think if 5 minutes go by, or maybe 10 after that, then the result's way different. But the fact that, I don't want to go get ahead of myself too much, but the fact that every time Mexico was in a chance to, like, win this game, they gave up a goal right away. It was like this, like, they worked so hard to get one, and then we're just giving them away. And so I think that was definitely a mental thing that you can't come back from. That was one of them, and the next one we talk about is going to be worse, for sure.
Yeah, but right before half, I think this is one of the big plays that people keep forgetting. Right before half, Chucky is one-on-one on goal, one-on-one. He even looks back. I think he might think he's offsides, because
he just shoots it. Right,
and he shoots it. And it's one of these moments that, in retrospect, has not been talked enough. One, the great save, but two, I think if you're Chucky Lozano, I would think that he would think about dribbling past him, getting around him, because everybody else is frozen.
Right.
And if Mexico gets that goal right before half in the 48th minute, all the work they put in the first half to be the better team, because in the first half they were the better team. All of that has now been rewarded, right? They get the 2-1 lead. Sure, they allowed a goal, but now they've bounced back. And now the USA letting in a goal in the last minute. Now they kind of have to restart over again and be like, oh, wait, what can we do to get back into this game?
Right.
And instead, now USA has confidence because they've survived a really bad first half of soccer. And now they're no worse for wear because they're 1-1.
No, you hit it on the head. I think I forgot about that one. Now you bring it. Yeah, that's definitely. There was another one too. Charlie Rodriguez a couple times where little breakaways where it could be 3-on-1, 3-on-2, and just bad decision, like just not knowing where to do with that ball. And definitely, like you said, you go to a half, you're up 3-1 or 2-1, and you're like, okay, this is definitely like, even though with the offside, you're like, it was worth it, right? We did all the work. We're up a goal. Now it's time just to manage the last 45. And you go into halftime just hitting yourself in the head like, we should be up, we should be up, we should be up, And so I still applaud them for bouncing back mentally because they did, other Mexico teams were probably shut down, but this team was definitely like, okay, we can still keep going. But we know what happens in the second half.
Yeah, and then second half for I think credit for the U.S. They made some adjustments formation wise.
Yeah,
they pushed Sergio Desca up a little higher. I think there was a gap to attack on their left side, Mexico's right side, where Ream was there, and I think one of the problems that I saw in the second half for Tata was he took too long with the subs.
Right.
Not subs that he had to make because Corona comes out at about the 60th minute, and because that's all he could give. He was coming off an injury. He couldn't get any more. You definitely saw after halftime that he just wasn't attacking the gaps as much. He wasn't going at defenders as much, because in the first half, he's probably the best player on the field, Tecatito Corona, where he's taking guys on. He's playing with confidence. He's dribbling players. He's passing. He's controlling the whole thing almost. Yeah. And in the second half, you just kind of saw, I think maybe sitting around that long at halftime and just like his body getting cold, it just took too long. But he just wasn't the same from there. And so they had to make a sub there. But after that, he takes too long to change up his team, I think, because USA started to get confidence little by little. Ochoa makes a great save from a Wesley McKenna header. And, Mexico almost looked a little lost around the 70th minute.
Yeah, they were definitely like, it's almost like USA finally figured it out. Like, these are the guys they got, and we can figure these ones out. And like you said, we already knew Linus was coming in. So, it's like, bro, you got to do it earlier. Because everyone was shouting, like, how come he's not in there to begin with? And I'm like, well, he is better than Antuna. He is better. He is more in shape than Tecatito. But to me, it was more like, who's going to give him a better sub? I think at that point, he kind of just decided, I'm going to go with him. He'll be the better spark at the end than maybe Antuna would be, only because Antuna doesn't have the touch that he has, right? So I think that's the strategy, right? We all know that he was probably the better player to start the game, but he was probably thinking he'll be a super sub, and so he was a super sub, but it was a little too late. And then the other options, that bench looks thin. I mean, as far as changing the game, you're not going to put Pulido in. You're not going to put these guys that are going to be slower than what the game is asking you to be, So, and Andy Martin, all he could do was pressure, and he got one. He did get one like a little. He did have a shot, I think, on goal. It was a good chance, but it's not enough. That bench looked very thin. Where we really had one guy that wanted to go in. That's it. That's what we were waiting for, one guy to go in.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the first sub wasn't him. The first sub was Romo. Was Romo the right sub? Should have been Orbelin.
Should have started maybe. You could argue he could have started instead of Charlie. He went for Charlie, no, or he went for Corona. What did he go in for?
I think he went for Corona, if I recall. But
yeah. I don't know. I think Romeo had to play. I was okay with the sub. Like I said, none of them really changed the game. I think. I don't know. I think if we were to draw it up with the guys he had, I don't think how you would change it. I mean, unless you have ideas. But like Guardado going in was also a good sub because like you're going towards like, all right, we're going to go to PKs, which we know what happened there. But it's like that's the guy that's going to go in to give. He doesn't. Guardado won't give you 90 minutes. He can give you 30. So I don't know. I think the subs were almost spot on as far as, or kind of predictable. Maybe they were kind of predictable. That's what it was.
I was hoping to see Orbelin. I think Pineda would have been.
I'm not impressed with him with the selection, but I like him as a player. I don't know. I'm not impressed yet, but
Mexico was starting to lose the midfield a little bit. So you needed somebody who could kind of be an outlet for the midfield. to the forwards and
Yeah.
him kind of dropping a little bit lower, kind of working the opposite side of where Linus would be, and just creating more outlets for them would, it'd probably change your formation a little bit more because now Chuki's probably higher up alone.
Yeah.
But I think it would have given a little more of glue in the midfield when you started to lose it. And, that's also counting when you add in Guardado. But with all that said, so Mexico's struggling. We're not playing as well as they did in the second half. Credit also has to be given to U.S. for that too. But I think, Mexico's still playing well. Linus does come in, makes an instant impact, 79th minute.
Yeah.
He has the ball on the right-hand side. He cuts it into his left, hesitates, takes an extra step to the left, and kind of waits for Ream to get settled, looking for that shot. And then he takes one more step, cuts it in near post, goal. Mexico's up 2-1. That should have been, or that's what you kind of assume would be the game winner. And it's perfect. It's a perfect kind of goal for a game winner in a game this intense and in this environment.
No, that was definitely the game right there. And like I said, we know what happens a minute, or I don't know how many minutes after, but it seemed like right after, it's one of those, you play keeper, I play keeper. And one thing you don't like is giving up corner kicks, right? Because you're like, hey, we don't need to give them up. If we don't have to give them up, don't give them up. And so, Chaka on this ball, confused, kind of slips and kicks the ball to bounds. Next play, goal. So you're like, dude, again, like you're working really hard. Like you said, you escaped the U.S.'s best moment, and Ochoa makes a crazy save, like all that stuff, right? And then we get to this point where, okay, Mexico got the lead. Okay, like you said, that's normal. Mexico wins this close game. It's normal. And then Chaka gives that away again. You're like, dude, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So it's like, now at that point, that's when definitely it got deflated. From that point, it's 2-2, and it's just a disaster from there, right? You're like, we don't want to go to PKs because U.S. was almost betting for that. It looked like U.S. was betting for PKs towards the end anyways. Like, hey, we can just go all the way to, we'll just hold off. It didn't look like they were attacking or anything like that. And Mexico was almost trying to avoid, that toss. They didn't want to go to that coin toss or the PKs. So, and then we know what happened next in overtime, which is a joke either way. It kind of like, we have nothing really to say, only because we, what happened with Guardado after that.
Yeah, So I think my biggest, so the Chaka thing is,
that's the dagger, man.
Like,
that's the dagger.
Like, yeah, how can you do that? And then another goal off a header where McKennie wins his third corner.
Wide open.
This is what I don't get. Why are they continuing to zonal mark? I mean, because when you zonal mark, especially on corners or free kicks, and you know what I started to get every time USA got a corner, I started to get that like feeling that you would usually get from past Mexico teams, were like, oh my God, another free kick.
Right.
Got another corner kick.
Is guys just watching and letting guys just header, letting guys just go on goal, and definitely like it looked like what I said, old school Mexico, just something that Osorio worked on a long time. Everyone kind of criticized them that, he's not taking Aris Hernandez, or he's not taking, these short guys, Rodrigo Salinas, whatever. But he wasn't taking them because he had a standard that he wanted 4 big backs, and in Mexico we have an issue, or fans have an issue, because Mexico, we want to see our outside backs move the ball up the field, right? It's like something that we have a love for. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing my backs go, take the ball up the field. But Osorio was totally against it, right? He wanted Ayalas, he wanted, these big 4 guys standing there. And that's definitely why I think when he did it, I think when he coached, I think they only scored 2 goals off corners, or 2 goals off set pieces or something like that. The stat was really crazy. So, we could criticize JC, but he was doing it.
Yeah, and I think there's a problem with the zonal marking. The problem is that because you're marking a zone, and when the ball comes, you're reacting to the ball instead of reacting with the man. Right. And so now you're kind of giving the players all this free space for them to have the momentum and to run.
Right, they're running in. Yeah, they're running in as a keeper like Ochoa, who doesn't come out, who stays under his 3 posts. That's the way he plays, right? He's a shot blocker. He's not the kind of guy you want to do that with, right? Because he's never really been aggressive like that to come out and win balls. He's not, he's not the guys that were used to doing that. He's not that kind of keeper.
Yeah, and now, so then you got these guys running into the box with momentum, and, Weston McKennie's looking for the ball. He's gravitating toward it. And the problem is there's nobody there marking him right at the beginning of the kick to put a body on him, slow down a little bit, get a little physical on him. And that's why you see kind of like Hector Moreno in the middle of all these 3 goals, just hunched down, because he's not getting any momentum.
No, and it's awkward as a defender too. It's awkward. It's hard to mark a guy running in. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
And so that's a bad move. That's definitely a bad move. And Ochoa, even with that, still got a hand on it because, like I said, he is a shot blocker and he will tie himself under the post, right? El Samara right there, los tres palos. He's the best in the 6-yard box. He is the best. One of the best. And he got his hand on that. He still got his hand on that, which is almost impossible. If he saves that one, now we're talking Brazil stuff. Brazil appearances again.
Yeah, and it's pretty incredible that actually for all this time that he's still making these saves and still putting Mexico in these positions to get results. USA ties it up. It goes into extra time, and I actually thought the first part of extra time Mexico was still pretty aggressive and
they
playing
were
really
still
well.
going, man. It was
They're
just a
going
lot
for the
of
goal.
I literally said every time the clock stopped or every time these game would stop, like US was in trouble when Linus went in. They knew that. And literally, even after that happened, Mexico still had opportunity to try to win the game a couple times. Like when Linus had the ball, he was still dangerous. And we still had a Chucky on the field, So the issue was the more the game got stopped and stopped and stopped, USA was stopping the game. They were icing the game, literally. So like if you look at the last 30, 40 minutes, I don't remember the game even being played. It was just a lot of standing around, a lot of fouls being called, and that probably was US's strategy, and that's something they probably picked up playing in Europe. These guys is like learning how to like just manage a game because Linus, he was still going to be dangerous. Like just give him one more, he would have got into the box again. So that was that.
Then in the 110th minute, USA gets a PK on a VAR check.
That was baloney.
I think if you ask a USA fan, they say it's a goal or they say it's a PK.
There's no way.
I didn't think it was a PK. It looked like Salcedo, the Pulisic makes a touch. Salcedo has every right to go for the ball.
Yeah, he goes body first. The thing is, it looks bad because he gets the ball with the other foot, right? That's not close to Pulisic, right? He goes in with his left and gets the ball on his right side. When, if he would have got the ball with the left foot, then it's like, oh, it's just ball first. But if you look, he does go body. It's almost like he just body Pulisic, but Pulisic was on his way down. It was kind of weak. It was weak.
It wasn't from behind. It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't even side to side. It just looked like he got his body in front of Pulisic.
Yeah. Can we talk about how terrible and, well, they probably won't ever hire me anyways, but I can't watch the game with Univision anymore. I never wanted to watch them before anyways, but watching
I watched it on Paramount Plus.
Okay. Well, watching it with Marcel Balboa, who's I can't stand, and other people on there just like, oh, I didn't see it. No, it's like, you didn't see that. Like, bro, and it was very one-sided, and they were just teaming up on Felix, Felix, whatever it was, Felix Fernandez, right? They were just teaming up on him, and everything was US this. I didn't see the foul. Did you see that? That's Hector Herrera gotta go. That's a red. It's like it was so one-sided where it's like, bro, we get it. We know the crowd that you're going for, but you still have a huge community of Mexicans that were watching the game, man. Chill out. It was very homery. It was kind of terrible.
Yeah, that's kind of what I heard about about it. I watched it in Paramount Plus, which had a lot of USA guys on it, and it was, but I was kind of expecting it, so it was what it was for me.
Yeah. Either way, back to either way. Yeah, that wasn't a PK. That was, I don't give. I know I'm gonna sound like a hater, but I don't see the effect that Pulisic put on the game. Literally, I don't see it. Yeah, he did hit a PK, and yes, that's cool, good shot, and that's the only way he was gonna make that one because Ochoa. I really thought Ochoa was gonna block it. I was like, Ochoa has that kind of swagger, that he got this in the big time. You say he's always stepped up, so I'm like, he's gonna block this, and I know Pulisic had that in his head, like this guy can block my PK, and so he did put it where no one can get it, top right, no one's gonna get that, so credit to him. And I'm getting sick of that picture that keeps getting retweeted of them like shushing a home crowd, but that's a different story. Okay, you can shush a home crowd, that's fine. That's a different story.
And even then, Mexico keeps pushing. They get 120th minute, they get a corner kick, another VAR decision, a handball. They give it to Mexico. And
there was one before that. There was one earlier too that they didn't call. It was a handball in the box too, a long time ago. That they didn't call it off a header too. They didn't even review.
So this one was kind of one of those handballs where I saw it a lot in like the EPL where it kind of hits the ball. The ball hits the hand, and it's kind of one of those calls where like it's been made all year. And I think when they get called for or when they called again, you can make the argument that it shouldn't be a handball if you're a fan of that team. The problem is that the precedent has been made all year that those are kind of those are going to get called.
Yep.
That it has to take something pretty drastic now for those not to get called. And I think you could tell like the Mexican players once they like the VAR got checked, like they kind of looked, they're like, you're going to have to call this, right? Like,
right, because and there was also there's that pressure, and there's a second pressure of like calling some baloney PK off of VAR too. So the referee almost has to do this one too. It was almost like, all right, 1-1. I wash my hands. You both get a PK, right? Yeah. It's on you now. Because and one thing I would say that also inclined that decision, I think, when I kept watching it, was the header is going towards the goal, right? So it's going towards the goal. I'm not saying he blocked the goal, but his hands here, and it does go towards the goal. So you could make the argument like, well, it's going in goal direction. You know, it's not like it was something that you like crossed it and it hits a hand when you're sliding. I hate those, right? This is like going towards the goal. You never know what could happen. You know, it could bounce or whatever. So, and like you said, the pressure of, we always call those, you know, every league's been calling those, and the EPL, like you said, they do it. And the fact that he just gave one up where it was very questionable, they're probably like, bro, just give it to him. We have something to give Mexico, so it's even. We walk out of here, you know, we wash our hands.
Yeah, and so Guardado steps up, who actually I've always been trusted Guardado on PKs. I can't remember the last time he missed it. And, you know, he hits it hard, hits it low, hits it to his left side. Great block by the backup keeper for the USA, who had to come in for Stefan. He comes in, Howard makes a save, and, you know, that kind of is pretty much the game. 3-2 Mexico loses, USA wins. Mm-hmm. And, you know, then
I think you hit it. I think you hit it. Mexico loses. I don't think US wins. I say literally Mexico lost the game. Like literally, like just kept losing the game. You know, it was there to lose pretty much. I don't think US beat Mexico. Does that make sense? Like to me, like the US did not beat Mexico. Mexico lost. So when Tata's comments at the end, he said, we played well, you know, whatever. People are like, oh, what the heck? Is he drunk? It's like, no, Mexico played well enough to win several times, you know, and as a coach, you can only put the guy, I mean, yeah, we could question a bunch of things, but he put a team out there that could win the game in 2-3 different opportunities, you know, and, you know, these guys they kind of got to stop giving goals up. You know what I mean? They got to stop giving crappy goals up, man.
Yeah. So it's like twofolds, right? You do make a good point. Mexico did play well enough to win. They played well enough to win by actually a couple of goals, I think. Problem is, if you play well enough to win and you create all these chances where you should maybe have a 2-goal lead at some point, and you don't deserve to win, because now you've opened yourself up and you've allowed a team to hang in there. Yeah. And if they do the little things well enough to get the goals to keep up with you, and at the end they pull ahead, I mean, you don't deserve to win when you should win and you don't pull it off.
I think that VAR decision, literally that 2-0 VAR decision, is a huge momentum changer, like you said, because US scores right after. You know, so we're talking about 2-0 with 20 minutes into the game. We're talking about Mexico's going to win 4-0 today. You know, they're going to win 4-0 that day. You know, they are. And so it's just like, you're like, wow, we're going to win. We're going to beat them that bad, that quick. We're scoring 2 goals that quick. And, you know, you just kind of saw that, like you say, you keep a team around enough, you know, you let them hang around enough. A team like USA, we're not playing Panama. We're not playing a team that maybe like can only give you that. You know, US was going to try to score. And like I said, they didn't outplay Mexico in any part of the field. They didn't outplay them. You know, not even the keeper, you know, because Ochoa did his thing too. I think literally it was just circumstantial, man. The opportunity was there. US scored the 3 chances they had, and they put them in.
Yeah. And so I think with the fact that the goals came from set pieces, though, that I think kind of does fall on coaching, because you guys are putting in the ideas. I want, when we're defending, I want this kind of defense when we're defending. I think that does fall on the goal. I think that does fall, on the coaching at some point.
No, I hear you, bro.
I think somebody has to tell him, like, or break it off and be like, yo, everybody find a mark, fucking mark up. Whoever, you know, if Herrera is the best defender, you have Ariel. He's the guy who should be on Weston McKennie on these corner kicks. I mean, but no one that never happened. And so I think when the goals come from set piece like that, that does fall on coaching some of it, because now that's a strategy on what you're doing defensively.
Yeah. No, we can definitely criticize Tata in a lot of ways. I'm not taking any blame from him, but I think he was okay when saying that they played well and he's not really worried. Like I don't think it's time to get worried. Like I really don't see that. Like, you know, if we win 3-2, if we win ugly 3-2, we'd be talking about, you know, like, oh, we won Nations League. It's just a Mickey Mouse. You know, we you know, Mexican media will still twist either way, that it's either it didn't matter or we lost something that, you know.
If Mexico would have won the game the way USA did, and if they would have done it against a team like France, I mean, nobody would be apologizing in Mexico about winning that game.
No,
You know what I mean?
no.
But
So
okay, so was there
either way, I don't.
what positive? So what players were you impressed by then for Mexico?
Like I said, I wasn't a big Linus guy. Just because the last couple of years, he's been trying to find his way. But I think Linus definitely has earned a spot to be there. He needs to be there all the time right now. I honestly don't really pinpoint anyone else that was like. I think Hector Herrera was obviously doing his thing, but he mostly always does his thing. I wasn't really too shocked. And the back line.
I think Alvarez played fantastic. I think Alvarez in defensive midfielder role.
Yeah, this one was beasting for sure. The back line, we could interchange the whole back line, to be honest. I mean, we could literally bring 4 other guys and probably get the same result or maybe better. I mean, Nessa Rafa did his thing, but like you said, big size for nothing almost, but he's like okay enough to be there. I don't, like I said, so I don't know. Carlos Salcedo, I'm upset with him. I'm tired of him and his antics and him being in situations where we have to go to a VAR or whatever. He goes in and just starts kicking people. And I like that he has that fire in him, but I can definitely say, either you start that guy, but you don't sub him in because he came in way too hot and it is a VAR decision. It wasn't a PK, but like he puts himself in some weird situations, man, all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and you can make the argument that I think it should be in for Gallardo, that Sanchez could play on the right side.
This is a game where Sanchez could have, and I'm not even a big Jorge Sanchez fan, but this is a game where he should have played because he's more athletic than Chaka. You know what I mean? He's more athletic. He could keep up with those guys. That is his forte, being big and fast. So I was like, I don't know why you put in a guy that's not big and fast. You know what I mean? Against US, that was kind of weird.
But I mean, yeah. So all right, and so now we got to touch the last topic of this, the fans. So the chant stops the game multiple times. There's beer thrown onto the field multiple times.
Right.
And you can even see it on the players. They were frustrated. They got sick of it. They're so sick of because Mexico were trying to play. We're trying to win it in overtime.
Right. You're wasting time.
The game has to stop because the fans continue to do the chant.
Mm-hmm.
How does that help? That doesn't help any. How does that help?
It's created. It was created by your team, first of all, but that's a different story. But
you're killing the momentum of the
team.
I
know. The chant had to stop. I mean,
you can see the frustration they had. What are you doing? Now we got to completely stop. It kills any momentum. It kills anything that could possibly occur, and then both teams kind of start from scratch again. And it gets tired. It's tiring, man. It's so tiring.
I said that's definitely a lot of these momentum. I forgot about the protocol one, but a lot of these momentum stoppers, throwing trash and all these things. Like, we might laugh about it, but it's definitely like something that's and it's against USA. You got to understand who's watching this game right now. It's a different time, right? It's 2021, and it's just a different time in the world. So, especially against USA, where you have people watching the game that probably don't know soccer, you're painting an even worse image, on what Mexican fans do. And don't get me wrong, like we're guilty of falling into these traps of doing crazy stuff, yelling crazy things, throwing things, whatever it may be, but. It's not the time, and it has to stop. It might be funny and cool when you're playing, another Latino team and you're like in, you're in San Luis Potosí and no one's really watching the game. But when it's prime time and you're playing in USA, you know what I mean? It's like you have to have your best suit on and you can't act a fool. And so I definitely felt like it's just bad, man. It's a bad look. Like you said, the players are over it because they stop the momentum. They're helping US get their breath back and not letting Linus do his thing, which we needed the ball in Linus's feet the last whatever minute. He just needed one more play, man. He was going to take Ream or whatever guy was back that he was targeting him. He was going to take him all day. We already knew he was going to take with every guy. We just need to get the ball in his feet one more time.
Yeah, and it's it's a tiring. It's it's kind of time for fans when they attend these games to just kind of just grow up and realize you have to evolve, you have to change. Like something that's okay 20 years ago. Out of ignorance doesn't make it okay now.
They just got to change it to something else. All they got to do is change it to something else, and it'd be fine because it was still a cool thing to do. Who else celebrates goal kicks like that, right? No other team celebrates a goal kick from the opposing team. So just change what you're saying. Don't say that. Say something else.
Yeah, and the argument that is such a dumb argument, but the one they put in a lot is they call FIFA hypocrites for placing a World Cup wherever they're going to place it, and all these other issues. But it's like that doesn't that doesn't give you the that doesn't give you the
No, no,
right.
it doesn't. It doesn't make it wrong. Yeah,
That
wrong, right? No,
hypocrisy, that doesn't work. That's stupid. Yeah.
no, you're right.
That
It
doesn't
doesn't definitely clear. It doesn't clear this one, but it's just it is not FIFA. The thing is, people understand. I don't think it is FIFA. It definitely started when we were doing Copa America here in the United States, so it's definitely tied to like U.S. Federation, and it is definitely tied to CONCACAF because we know how bad it gets in Europe. We've seen it. We see it in club all the time. We see how bad it gets in Russia and different places. You've seen some crazy things that they do, very ignorant, very racist, things. So it's just it's got to go away, man. It has to go away. And I'm kind of scared because there's already been 2 games now with Protocol 1. I really feel like the next one in Gold Cup is going to be a disaster because they're going to go to whatever the next thing is, to be honest. And maybe they take away points against a team like Martinica, and they're like, well, it's fine. Mexico will still qualify, but we'll take these points away. I feel like they're going to do it. They can do it.
Yep. So, I mean, so that's wrap up on the first ever Nations League, where you got, if this is the first time you watched a CONCACAF final, you literally got everything.
Everything. Yeah, you got everything.
You got the perfect idea of what, like, when they say CONCACAF, like, that's the perfect example of what it is. And, now for Mexico, it's a busy summer. They got Gold Cup in a month. They got World Cup qualifying in the fall, where they come hard and they come a lot. They're doing 3 every cycle, every international break now too. So, at the end of the day, you didn't win. And now, pressure's on Tata to get a result in the Gold Cup now.
Yeah, I think definitely the pressure's on now, because before it would have probably been like, oh, we won this, so Copa Oro, let's just take a break. But now it's definitely like, no, we need to win something this summer, bro. You know what I mean? Because the Olympics is going to be a tough way to win. And we could win it, but it's still a tough way. And I think Gold Cup is definitely going to be Tata's opportunity to redeem himself. And we are going to be seeing some new names being called. I think they're going to call some other guys, probably give a chance to some other people. I think so. I think he probably saw some people that cross off.
Yeah. Of course. So we're gonna take a quick break. Yeah, welcome back. So now we're gonna switch topics to another tournament, one that kicks off this weekend. We got Euros 2020,
Heck yeah.
2021. Now that and I mean, this is another tournament that got pushed back a year because of COVID. A new formation this year where there's not a host country. Instead, they're doing multiple host countries, different groups, all hosting a different one. It kicks off with Italy against Turkey. Alex, I mean, you looking over the whole tournament, looking at the groups, who do you like, who you don't like? What are your thoughts before we start this
I'm one of those
Euros, which is,
I'm definitely going to be one of those guys that goes with the I'm gonna go with I like Grupo F is the one that is kind of like brings obviously attention to me. With Germany, France, Hungary, and Portugal. I definitely see the 4 teams right there in Grupo F. I think to me that's Grupo de Muerte, unless there's another group of death. I don't know the other one would be, but I definitely see some close games there because there's 3 good ones. So you're gonna 3 really historical teams. So I don't know. That's the group that I'm looking at. That's the group that I'm probably going to keep my eye on. I know you're going to keep your eye on Belgium for alternative reasons, but I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on Group F. I'm definitely going to be watching what France is going to do, what they're going to bring, because of who they are, because of their, the champion right now, obviously the world champion, and they're going to have, some of the top players with them. So definitely that group, and I always like watching España anyway. So, a little bit of Group E, but some other groups don't really bring my eyes to them. I don't really want to see a Ukraine, North Macedonia game. I don't really want to see some games like that. So I'll try to catch up with them, but definitely I think Group F is the one to keep my eye on. Group F for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you got the defending European champions, you got the defending World Cup champions, and you got the and then you got the 2016 World Cup champion. So every team's gonna be tasty, and then you got a team in Hungary who are gonna look to get a result. Put kind of like a wrench in the party. Remember, possibility of multiple 3 teams that finish third in groups.
Oh, okay.
So you have a teams that could just kind of that look for that one win and look to kind of to crash the party. I think for me, when I look at some of these teams, I think I see some teams who are kind of set up to maybe disappoint. Maybe not in the group stage, but I think maybe later in the stage. I think Spain's one of those teams. Spain not strike, the whole generation where they were 10 years ago, 8 years ago, gone. Mm-hmm. They're kind of cycling in young new players now. But
Yeah.
I think, after that success of 08, 010, 12, you know, unfortunately for them, now that standard's set there, right? And now
Right.
everything's going to be
Yeah,
measured
we
to that
expect them to,
standard.
yeah, run the show.
And
Yeah.
that's what every team now in major tournaments is gonna be the barrier to. Can you reach? Can you, you don't have, maybe you don't have to win every tournament, but can you be a semifinalist? Right, a finalist. Even Germany, a team that is constantly in finals, semifinals, battling for trophies. They didn't make this last World Cup. That was an anomaly for. They didn't make it out of the group stage of the last World Cup. That's an
Right.
anomaly for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, can these now, like a team like Spain, can they kind of readjust what their standards are after success? Because they were out in the round 16 of the last World Cup too. So, what does this generation? What can they produce? What can they give us? And then I think the Netherlands are set up to have a bad Euros. They haven't been playing well the last year. I, I think Austria and Ukraine could frustrate them. I think
Yeah,
that
I think I'm looking at the group. I think this is the year, man, where it's going to be like you could see some other teams in those last stages. Some other teams that we're not used to seeing. Maybe some older teams that it's going to be one of those surprises. I think you're not going to have any like running favorite, besides France, obviously. But I think it could be one of those toss-up years. It's those pandemic things. It's like everyone's been doing whatever.
these teams are tired. These
Yeah,
players are
teams are
tired.
tired. Guys that played on top teams they just finished. If they played in
They played
Europa
a
League,
lot of soccer.
they play a
They
lot of
played
soccer. So
a
I feel like
lot of soccer.
these small countries have a chance to bite right
Yeah.
now. So
and you just need kind of one bad result or a couple of bad group games or a team to surprise you, and now you have a team that you kind of wouldn't expect to be a third place team or something.
right,
Like a Netherlands, and now they're locked up in the later stages, like
Wales,
much
what I
much
mean?
sooner than
I
you
don't know.
expect. You know what I mean? And we saw that in the last Euros. We saw it with Wales making a run. You saw it with North Ireland. You saw it with his teams. Portugal didn't win.
Iceland.
Iceland. Portugal didn't win a group game in the last Euros, and they ended up winning the tournament. You know what?
Yeah,
I think they only
France should have
won.
won that.
I think they only won
scored
one game in regulation in the 90 minutes last Euros, and they ended up champions. So, those third place pots really make it interesting. And
they're definitely tired, man. This is one of those like everyone's kind of tired, and you're going to see some injuries. You don't want to wish on it, but people are going to be they're going to be either out of shape because they haven't played for a while, or they've overplayed. I honestly see that. It's going to be a weird. It's not going to be the best. They're not in the best shape for sure, just because it's been a hard year, man. They're trying to catch up from last year, so
yeah.
I think it's almost like these
Yep.
tournaments just got to get out the way so they could reset, because these guys are going to be tired. They got World Cup qualifiers, all kinds of things coming up too.
Yeah, like you said, it's almost going to be like a survival. Can you survive?
Yeah, let's get through this. Let's move on.
It's a lot. At the end of the day, these guys are still human. You know what I mean? It's a lot of miles they got put on last season, especially like you said, these players in these very high profile teams. They have not had a lot of rest. These schedules were very congested. And
yeah. How many guys would rather have vacation right now in a summer that they can actually have off because we can go out, right? Because the pandemic is almost over. So last year everyone's cooped up, right? And this is the year where you can have some time off. You can be with your family. You can travel a little bit, go back home, and the guys have to go to this tournament. So it's like the thing. Like, let's just get through it and not get injured. So for sure. It should be fun though. It should be great. It should be good. I like that they spiced it up. Like you said, they had we said earlier before the show, the different host cities. I think that's definitely a cool thing. That's something that CONCACAF should copy, and we should find a way. If you're going to do a Nations League, right, instead of doing the Copa Oro, like you do Copa Oro every time in the United States, right? You don't let it go around anymore like you used to. You used to let it go to Mexico, right? Well, then Nations League should be something that moves around too. Like give that off year to someone. We obviously know they're not going to do it because of the money. But I like how Europe is giving people an opportunity to host in this, different year for sure.
Yeah, and it also helps because they're no longer putting so much pressure on a host country to on some of these cities who probably can't host something that of that magnitude. Not every city can do that. So if you put them in these big capitals, you put them in Rome, you put them in London, you put them in Copenhagen, you put them in all these places for a week or so instead of
just a couple of teams only. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I think smart idea. I like it. I think it's gonna be great. It kicks off with Italy, Turkey. I think Italy's kind of, I won't say a dark horse, but they're kind of like that next level below the Frances of the world, where they're
Yeah.
because again, this is a team that didn't make the World Cup 2 years ago, 3 years ago, sorry, 3 years ago now, and they've have gone through this reconstruction kind of have been going under the radar because of that. This is their time now to show like, yo, after this last World Cup, we looked at what we did as a federation and as a club or as a country, and we've changed, and we've put ourselves in a much better position now than we were when we didn't make a World Cup 3 years ago, to show you guys that we're serious. But I think that's a team that can be, a semifinals run for them is great. You know what I mean? Like, they're not expected to win, but they're expected, but they
To
can
compete.
definitely.
They're expected to compete. They're good enough to be there. They have history. You said they're not probably like the running favorites, but it's Italy, or it is these countries, these countries that can. They're historic, man. Like, they're going to bring, they can win because they have guys that play everywhere, and their league is obviously one of the top in the world. So, yeah, man, I think there's going to be some cool games to watch. I can see a lot of ties in the group stages for sure. I'm like, oh, I don't even want to watch these ties, but there's going to be some ties, a lot of ties for sure.
Yeah,
I can
so
see it.
I mean, for the first couple of days before we record again, we get Italy, Turkey kicking off in Rome. I like Italy. Who do you like?
Italy. No, they're at home. Yeah. Turkey's
Okay.
good. Turkey's good though. Turkey's legit, but I'm going Italy.
Yeah, and then the next day, and then starting Saturdays when we get 3 games. Got to wake up nice and early with our coffee at 4 a.m. You get Wales, Switzerland. Wales with Bale. You got Switzerland, who's a more complete, I think, an overall better rounded team.
Yeah. But Wales is good though. Wales is gonna be cool. I think Wales is gonna be all right.
I mean, they had a good run last Euros, so they're not gonna be happy to be there. I think they're gonna want to do well and show out what they did 4 years ago in Euros wasn't just a mistake.
That's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be even. I think it's an even game for sure.
Yeah, I think that's one of those games that I think maybe has Tyron on it.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, you got Group B starting off again. You got Denmark, you got Finland. Finland, kind of one of those surprise teams that make it. You get Denmark, who came off a really good quarterfinals, round 16 appearance in the World Cup, losing to Croatia PKs. Yeah. They're hosting these games. You got them. I like Denmark.
I like Denmark too. You give me Denmark. I think Denmark can compete with a lot of countries. They're not the big flashy team, but they can compete with a lot of teams. So I got Denmark for sure.
And then the other team in Group B is interesting with Belgium, as you mentioned. That's my team for the Euros for personal reasons. You got Belgium who plays Russia in Russia and St. Petersburg, and then the next group game they got to fly to Denmark and they play Denmark and Copenhagen. So it's interesting where they are probably the best team out of that group, but they have to play two. They have to play two away games.
Yeah. And Russia is Russia. I mean, I think historically, obviously, we haven't seen nothing from them. They kind of like do whatever against small teams, but Russia at home, their league is strong. It's strong enough,
quarterfinals in the last World Cup when they hosted. Yeah.
So I would definitely say Belgium has a really tough. They need to get points in Russia for sure, because when they get to Denmark, if they don't have points and they get to Denmark, Denmark's gonna be fighting for their life too. So that could be the end right there. It literally could be the end of the tournament if they don't get points from both of them. I think they need to get points against Russia. I really think they do.
I think France are probably the favorites, and most talented team, but I think Belgium is like that second level.
Yeah, no, they got balls.
And I think, there's no disrespect to Italy either, but I think Denmark or Belgium is just like one step above them and one step below France. Kind of.
Yeah, I put them in that. I put them in that talented group, like you said. I think I put them with, not right now, not this time with Netherlands, like not how Netherlands has right now, but I definitely put them in that group with them where it's like they've never won a World Cup, but they have a bunch of players, that play on good teams. They've always been good enough. So I think a second tier team. I think they're definitely a second tier team.
And this is really one of this one and maybe the World Cup in a year and a half is kind of the real last chance maybe of.
Right. We've been hearing about the golden generation for like 8 years now. So we're waiting for it.
For them to really, they made a semifinals in the last World Cup, and now, can they grow off of that? Can they build off of that? I think Contal's came off a really good year with Real Madrid. When you have a goalkeeper playing really well, you can go far in that. You have these guys, you have this core group. Can this be the tournament where they can make a finals, take a step closer?
Right.
It's because you don't realize until it's gone how quickly these windows are gone. Until you think you're in there, and then next thing you know, if a good example of this is Croatia and England lock up in Group C, or sorry, Group D. You get a rematch of the semifinals
Yeah.
from 3 years ago. You see where these two teams are. England, I think, is better than they were 3 years ago.
Yeah, England's on the rise. I think Croatia's on the downfall.
Yeah, exactly. And that's neither good nor bad, but it's more just like a fact of like, if you don't capitalize when you have this crop of talent,
Right.
it could be gone in a second. And now you're going to see, now England's going to catch Croatia on their downfall. They still have talent, they still have the players, but it just takes those little couple of years for it just not to be the same.
Yeah, this definitely could be like the last run for that Croatian group. It could be the last run for that Belgian group. I think, like the ones that we're talking about that are like that group. And I think, like you said, England's definitely like has been floating, and definitely making that rise. I think it's their time, to be honest. I think we're not talking about them enough. I think they're gonna definitely be in the Final Four for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think England is talent-wise is definitely with that Belgium group that we talk about. In that Belgian level, I think Belgium has more experience. I think but the England team on paper is one of those teams where
it's stacked.
They're stacked, and they're young, and
yeah.
Shout out to Southgate for making it a young team and kind of giving the teams their fans what they want, where they're like, what, we are going to go with this really youthful group and go in all in on this, where you want. I think you can actually convince yourself that they are finalist potential, where making a finals can be an expectation for them.
Yeah,
I think they're one of those handful teams, along with Belgium, along with France, that you go. I do expect them to make a finals, where a final semifinals is at the very least what they should do.
Yeah, no, I think we definitely expect them. But on paper, like you said, the league. But then again, it could come back to those guys that we are expecting England to bring. Are guys that can be really tired. EPL is demanding. The leagues they play in are very demanding. They played very long, so we'll see. But I can definitely see England making that run. They're at home too, right? You said they're in London too, so they're going to make a run for sure.
And the finals and semifinals are going to be in London, so they're in
the semifinal. I think it's going to be good for the world to see England.
Once if they get to that semifinal stage, that's their home games from there for them, because the Wembley's hosting the last two, so it's on their hands there. And then we talked a little bit about Group F, but Group F, you got a team like Portugal, who is it's crazy how Ronaldo is still their figurehead, but now everybody else is so much better around him. I think
he definitely has a better supporting cast.
This team is so much more talented than when they won it 4 years ago.
I agree.
You can just go. You got Ruben, and you got Ruben Diaz in the back. You got you got Felix in the middle. You got
Sancho. Sancho's the name. I'm sorry. No, I'm tripping. Yeah.
You got Sancho, but you got so much talent. And this team is loaded. You got Germany, who's looking to bounce back on after a disappointing World Cup. Right. And those two are also teams that the talent that Portugal has, they should also be saying, we are finals quality, we are semifinals quality.
And I think the one thing that brings them over the top is that you take Ronaldo out of the team, you're like, okay, that's a dope team. And so with that veteran right there, are you kidding me? So they definitely, it does become a close game. They have that guy.
Pepe is he's reemerged with his time in Porto too.
I was gonna say the Porto team definitely has that. They have that guys from those teams. The Porto has that. They made that run. The Portuguese league is doing a lot better right now. It's kind of hot, so I think you're definitely gonna see a strong Portugal team.
Yeah, this is like Pepe 2.0, like the older new version of him.
No, he got young. He got younger, man. He got younger.
Yeah, you put him next to Diaz, and you got that brute, and you got that kind of the way Barcelona was with the Puyol and Marquez, where you got the brute, and you got Canelo on one side as well. Moutinho, this team is Ruben Neves. This team is absolutely stacked with talent. Sanchez coming off a league title with Lille. I mean,
I think we'd be shocked if they don't get to, like you said, 4 or at least final 8, final 4 for sure.
Bruno Fernandes, Jota Silva. This team.
Yeah.
I mean, this team is up. This team is also up there with them, and
that kind of. Don't forget, you said they have Cristiano on top of that. So on top of that, they still have a guy.
You still have Cristiano Ronaldo, right?
You still have him that could any set piece is going to be a disaster.
Yeah, he can still win you the game. And
yeah.
And then this leads us to the last team in that group, kind of the last team we'll touch on here is Germany. Again, the team failed to get out of group in the World Cup. They kind of are now in the, I don't know if the transition, but they're definitely in the middle of like that generation that won the World Cup. This is definitely,
Yes.
I think, you look at Kroos, you look at Hummels, who got brought back, you look at these guys, you look at, even maybe someone like Neuer, who's just reached his 100th cap, but at 35 years old, this could be his last tournament, if not the next World Cup. Now, all these guys, these are now making way or in the middle of transitioning for kind of this younger generation, kind of led by Kimmich, Gnabry, this, San, who didn't even play in the last World Cup. This team has loaded with talent too. And this is a team, just by being Germany, the expectation is finals, semifinals.
No, there's definitely a strong, like I said, Germany is Germany, just like Brazil. So Germany, you're going to have to, like I said, you can't beat them. You got to kill them. So I definitely think it doesn't really matter the names they're bringing, because we know how strong the German league is. We know, how strong Bayern Munich has been, right? So a lot of these big names are playing on big teams. So you can see definitely, like you said, there's a transition. Their window did close. They fell in that Spanish trap where it was like they were going off of last World Cup success, and then they went to the World Cup with almost the same team, and then you saw what happened. So I definitely think they're not going to let that happen again. There's probably pressure
you can
there.
Definitely tell by the players they brought. It's not, and the guys we're talking about, they're not like young either. You know what I mean?
No.
Kimmich is 26. Solis 25. You got Gnabry's 25. You got Simon's 25. These guys are,
they're in their prime. They're in their prime for sure. They're in their push.
They're entering the early stage of their prime. I think, a team with like England, I think, who probably have will go like slightly more younger.
Right.
This team, when you combine them with like the Mullers, with the Kroos, with the Matt Hummels, with the Neuers, this team kind of almost like reloaded instead of rebuilt. You know what I mean? They reloaded in a different way for this tournament.
They're going to come in strong. I can see that group sending 3 teams over, right? Like you said, you got to be the best of 3. And then France, obviously, France is France. They're whatever they're doing it right. They got guys playing on top teams. They're not super flashy, but they got guys that are obviously top of the world. So, I can even see France not finishing first in that group, and that's fine. But I really do see 3 teams coming out of that group.
Yeah, man. I mean, France probably, I think, if they have their druthers, has the scariest front 6. I think, Benzema coming off an amazing year where he dragged Real Madrid to a Champions League semifinals, second place in the league. Coming up, returning for France for the first time in 5 years, he's going to be hungry. He's going to have a point to prove, and it's almost like at that level, it's so easy sometimes to just kind of let your guard down, especially after the amount of games these guys have been playing, the amount of soccer they've been playing.
That's right. That's definitely going to be one of the tired teams for sure. We talked about that's definitely one of the teams.
The fact that and a lot of these guys are coming off winning the World Cup a couple of years ago. You wouldn't be surprised if there might not be at the same level they were at the World Cup. But then when someone like Benzema comes in, who's at the level as everybody else, but hasn't been there in 5 years, he's kind of can almost give that team the hunger again. And, you see him with that energy to being back with France, having something to prove. And all of a sudden, Pogba's ears poke up a little bit. You know what I mean? You got Dembele, you got all these guys all of a sudden, Mbappe, and these guys are, he can almost like reunite them a little bit if they need it, because he's been gone for so long, and he's at that quality that he can challenge them and kind of step in right away and be a leader. Where, I think if maybe with the group they would be set up to maybe have a lull, it won't happen.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a tough game. It could be a tough matchups for them, but I definitely see them, if they're close games, I can see France pulling them out. I think they could be tired, but I think we expect them to be in the final. I think we expect them to be in the final, not even top 4. I think we expect France to be in the final for sure.
Yeah, I think so. From what we talked about, we got, if we talk about top 5, honorable mention Italy, honorable mention Germany maybe, but even Germany top 5, you got Portugal top 5.
England.
We both got France 1.
Yep.
We got France one. I think I got Belgium second.
Yeah.
I like it. I like England. I like England. Actually, no, I like Portugal third, England four, Germany five. Those are kind of my top fives for what I see entering this tournament. You got Italy out there looking in, I think, who can make a run. You got Croatia, maybe they got one more run in them. And then, I think Spain might be the disappointment of the tournament.
I don't see anything coming out of Group E. Group E is one of those. Is not. I don't see anything coming out of that.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
me.
Portugal, you got Lewandowski. How much can
Right.
he carry? But yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. So that's kind of those are our thoughts on the
Yeah, we'll
about
see
the
how.
Euro.
Yeah, we'll see how
We'll
Euros are
see.
gonna go. I'm gonna be excited to watch those for sure.
Yeah,
There's a
and
lot of soccer, man. I'm gonna have to get a new
lot of
TV
fun.
package or something to watch all these games.
That's right. I got my dogs. We'll be making predictions, so keep an
Oh
eye out for that.
yeah.
I
Oh
got my
yeah.
dog. Um, you know, both of them picked USA to win, so they're on a hot streak. They're 1-0.
Okay.
Yeah. They made their choices for the kickoff tomorrow. They both got Italy.
Okay.
So yeah. So
We'll
I mean,
be following that for sure.
yeah. So I mean, watch out for they're predicting every game. Watch out for them. These guys are, yeah. They start off hot. But yeah, that's our Euro prediction. We'll come right back. We'll talk a little Copa America, and we'll come back a little 50-50 as well.
All right.
All right, and welcome back. And yeah, we're going to touch real quickly on the last international tournament popping off starting on Monday. Copa America Brazil, after it was moved twice in a matter of a couple weeks. It was supposed to be a joint operation between Colombia and Argentina. Colombia dropped out with COVID running wild, with things happening with the government and the people. Then it went to Argentina. Argentina unable to host it. They moved to Brazil. There was a moment where Brazil players almost protested and didn't play at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like everything is going. It's gonna happen. A new format this year. They split it up into two groups of five.
Right.
No teams invited this time.
No guests, right? Yeah, no guests. Which was fun. It was fun to have the guests, but I think it was fun to have the guests because it's the same 10 for the qualifiers, right? Where other confederations, they don't have that issue. They always have new teams in the qualifiers, and in South America only has those 10 every single time. So it kind of brought that flavor, especially, it's a sour spot for us, but when they would bring Mexico, it was definitely fun to watch those when they were able to bring their real teams. So it's going to be different. It's going to be kind of, and it's probably got to be kind of weird, right? Because they got qualifiers coming up too. Oh, they actually already started them. So it's like overkill at this point, almost the same way Nations League is causing Copa Oro to kind of be overkill and the qualifiers right after. I think it's definitely going to hurt this confederation, just like CONCACAF. I think.
Yeah, because it's so much of the same in a way. So it's like you're just
same thing. You're showing all your cards. What do you want to show what do you want to plan a game and win a game here? Or do you want to qualify to the World Cup? You can't show all your cards right now. As a coach, it's got to be really tough. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, like you said, they just wrapped up 3 games of qualifying. So there's 6 games in the World Cup qualifying that they just finished. Unlike, USA or Mexico or Costa Rica or Honduras, where they get a month off, they're going right into now a week later, not even, they're starting off this tournament, 2 groups.
Yeah.
Group A, Argentina, Bolivia, Uruguay, Chile, Paraguay. Group B, Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru. Round robin, they each play every team, and then from there, only one team gets sent home, which is also wild too.
Only one? Okay, I was gonna ask you how that worked. Okay, only one.
Yeah,
wow.
You get only one.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, and then you get quarterfinals with the team split up, and then we go from there. I mean,
that's definitely overkill. I already thought it was overkill. That's too much now. You're gonna do a round robin. You're gonna play 4 games of a group, and then probably gonna play these teams again. So you're probably gonna see teams play each other again twice. Or maybe it's too much. So out of those groups though, Grupo A, besides bashing it, Grupo A, obviously the top 2 they're already posted there. Brazil and Colombia definitely got to be the favorites in the first. For me, in Grupo A, and then Grupo B. But we talk about Grupo A first. So what do you think about Grupo A? We got Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Venezuela. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, so I think Brazil especially. So that's actually Group B, but yeah, Group.
No, it's A, right?
Mine says B.
Whatever, one of the groups. One of the groups. Okay.
I mean, Brazil's if I'm basing this off the World Cup qualifying, where these guys haven't lost yet, they're 6-0, they're 18 points, they're the only
and they're at home, right?
They're at home too. I think they're above everybody else. You have Colombia who's playing without James Rodriguez because he wasn't fit enough. I think Ecuador is the one who I think could sneak in, get second in this group, and then you know Peru. The qualifying hasn't been going as well as they'd hoped, but this is a team that is playing with confidence after they've had a good last cycle. They make the World Cup for the first time in a very long time. They
Mhm.
make Copa America finals. So I think this format also just really allows for a lot of leeway and to catch yourself up too.
Yeah.
So I think Brazil's the one to favorite. I think Venezuela would be the one for me that I'd probably be the one to miss out.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I think Venezuela is definitely going to be the one that is probably not as strong in those five. Oh, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. That's the thing with Conmebol, we don't know. That's the cool thing that is
Yeah,
very competitive. It's very even. There are a
these
couple
teams
of
hate
teams like
each
I
other.
said. There is Brazil that obviously is above them, but it's very even. And none of these teams are scared of Brazil. They don't really. No one's scared. No one's really scared of anyone there.
No, and there's real disdain between these teams too, which is actually which is really awesome. Like you can have like a Portugal versus Germany matchup, but they don't hate each other.
No, they don't face each
These
other
guys are,
enough. They don't
yeah,
face each
these
other
guys,
enough, right? So
yeah.
I tweeted the other day. I was like, I said, just me personally, I like Copa America. I like watching it more than Euros. That was me. I posted that. My friends are, oh, you're crazy. I'm like, no, I said that's what I like watching. Just because I don't know. I do have a connection with these teams, right? With somos Latinos, but also I do know that these teams they go at it, man. The games are even. They go at it. There's goleadas. There's like some kicks and stuff here and there. So they do it on the club level. They do it in the national team level. So I do like seeing these games for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm with you on that. So the other group, you got Argentina, you got Bolivia, Uruguay, Chile, Paraguay. I mean, these groups, I think, set themselves up for fights.
Yeah, this is a
This,
this is a
this is
this
going
is
to
a,
be
a, a
ca-
bloodbath right here. This is a
this is a
bloodbath.
cagey. I mean, you got Uruguay, who's whole soccer culture is a one of warriors of 2 million, 3 million warriors of a country where they don't, and their national team represents that. They play that way. You know what I mean? It's the biman of a nation on a
Yeah,
soccer team is Uruguay.
yeah.
You have Chile, who are just like almost the same level of that right now in their soccer. You have Argentina, who are just dying to win an international tournament, and then you got Paraguay, who's kind of on their way up, trying to regain that glory they had in the 2000s. And at the end, you got Bolivia, who's who wants to get off the ground floor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think there's definitely the weakest link out of those five is going to be Bolivia. I think just league wise, club wise, the teams they have, the players. I think definitely they're going to be the fifth they're going to be the one that exits Group B. Um, so we'll see how it goes. Obviously Argentina. They bring whoever they got, but like you said, when they play Uruguay, that's going to be a great game to watch. Chile doesn't back down anyone anymore. And then Paraguay, like you said, they're fighting to get back into that. They've always had that kind of like, we're here, we're good enough to be here. They probably don't have like, the generation that they used to have, but I think they're going to try to bounce back. They're probably going to get, number 3 or 4 in that group for sure.
Yeah, and you got a team in Chile who did make the World Cup 3 years ago.
So they got to redeem themselves.
Yeah, and the World Cup, and they won those 2 Copa Americas. They won the one they hosted. They won the one in the United States. So they're kind of in that middle confidence where they didn't make a World Cup, but they do have that confidence of winning the 2 Copa Americas, 2 of the last 3. So this group sets themselves up to be I think a 3-horse race for the top of the group, and then from there, who knows? Again, this format now allows for you to play well and then not play well and get a result.
Yeah. You can tie 3 games. I mean, you only really need to win. You probably only need to win 1 game, and you can get into the next round.
The way the format is here, it really kind of allows yourself to. It's almost not about winning. It's just about because again, a lot of these players are also coming off long seasons.
Yeah.
So it's allowing a lot more leeway for you to rotate players, save them more than you would for a Euros, the way that tournament's set up. This one, you can almost, you can rotate guys and change things up and try to rest them as much as possible. It's almost like a chess, like don't lose, don't not like, of course you want to win the game, but winning is not as important right now in this group stage as surviving and setting yourself up a little
Yeah.
for further down. And
Las rotaciones.
yeah,
Yeah. Osorio would do great here.
yeah.
Osorio would do great.
Quickly, the group sets me up, reminds me a lot the way this tournament set up is like, have you like Olympic basketball? Have you seen
Yeah.
where they have so many teams, they'll play all these games, they'll play round robins, and then like one team, two teams go home in a group of like seven.
Yeah.
It kind of gives me that feeling.
It's very youth tournament like too. It's like everyone's gonna play somebody, and then like that one team that couldn't even get one win, they're out. And it's like, well, okay,
Yeah.
but which makes the second round even better, because then the second round is like, okay, now you guys got to go, guys are rested. The yellow card thing, people probably gonna be able to sit off those suspensions too. So the second round will be really really good because that's like one win, one and done, one and done
Yep.
style.
Yep. All right. So quickly to wrap up the show, we got a segment 50-50 where
the 50-50.
You want to explain it? This was your concoction.
Yeah, something I came up with. I mean, obviously, I've seen different versions of this, but I said, we're gonna call it the 50-50, right? So you got a ball in the middle of the field, you got two guys going for the ball, or two players, two girls, doesn't matter, going for the ball, 50-50, boom. Okay. And so as a referee, you got an opportunity to either call a foul, right? Because you see it. You let it go, right? You let it go, no foul, right? So we're gonna go play on, right? Obviously, or you call a foul. Or if you're kind of in the middle where you're like, you don't know, you're gonna go to the VAR. You're gonna go to the VAR and you're gonna say, I don't know. I'll let people in the booth figure that one out. So we both have a couple things we're gonna come up with, quick little rapid fire, and the other person will decide what they think. So
yeah, I'll let you start.
Okay, so my first topic, obviously, it's kind of hot off the press, and it's very soccer related. Ormeño, right? Santiago Ormeño, he obviously just got called by Peru, and he's going to be playing for Peru. What do you give that, man? Because obviously, he's been scoring goals in Mexico. Tata didn't give him a call. What do you do, man? What are you calling on that one?
I mean, I'm getting that a yes for him. He earned it.
Okay.
He did well. He's for Peru, that's great as well. So I mean, for the player, for the team that picked him, it's a yes. I mean, he can't be weighing around. It's especially because the World Cup is a year and a half away.
Yeah.
It's good. It's Tata probably has his his base is kind of set up, and
right.
If he's not in it, it's not going to happen. So
okay.
Yes for him to get out.
Yeah, I mean, for him, it's good. I think more of the kind of guy like, no, let's let everyone who needs to come to Mexico, everyone that's available to play for Mexico, we should give them a shot. But hopefully it doesn't come. I think that probably didn't see a future in him as far as going up. He is not that young. He is in his time. He probably seen, I think he probably seen what he can give you. So I don't think Tata's very impressed like that. Like you said, he already has his group. He doesn't see him in the long run going to this World Cup or the next one. So it's kind of like, well, if you want to play for Peru, go ahead. So yeah, play on.
All right, 50-50. Here in San Diego, news came out this week. NWSL Women's League. Man. We're getting a team.
I'm leaving.
San Diego getting the women's team.
I give that one. That's a foul to me. Not on San Diego, but a foul to. It's a foul to the NWS. I mean, I guess I can't give it a foul. I don't know. I'm gonna call it a foul. I don't care because the owner that took him, that had the rights to him, because he bought the rights to have that team, was going to be here in Sacramento. So to me, it was a big deal to have Sacramento MLS team, NWSL. We had the coach. What was her name? The one from the U.S. national team.
Ellis. Yeah. Ellis,
okay,
yeah.
So that all came out that she was going to come here. So like, man, we're actually going to be a soccer city. We're going to be blowing it up, and then he just got stripped. They literally look. So I call a foul on that one, man. That's weak.
Yeah.
But good for San Diego. But that's a foul, man. That's a foul.
Yeah, you like that one, huh? You say.
Yeah, because that's it's a double, it's a dagger. It's the beginning to the end. The end of it. Saying Sacramento not getting MLS team. That's the beginning to it because you took the women's team now, and so the only thing to follow now will be the MLS rights going that way, if it happens. I think.
And on the contrary, it just. I think that this also means just one step closer to maybe San Diego getting an MLS team.
That's what I'm saying. So it's a beginning towards that start and a beginning to our end. So
yeah. So not for him. Yes for me. He lives in Sacramento. I live in San Diego now. So great for me. Looks like they're going to do, from what Ellis said, it's going to be an all women's coaching staff, all women's front office too, with a
big name too, big name coach for sure.
So now you're going to get a great soccer rivalry, hopefully, with the women's team starting up in Los Angeles as well. So, one person's loss is another person's win. So, yeah. So, okay. Your last 50-50.
My last one was the rebranding the MLS teams. I had other topics, but we already talked about them anyway. So I think the one I kind of just said was you see all these teams. I know the New England Revolution just came out with a new logo. We saw the Columbus Crew have that fiasco. What do you take with like the MLS just trying to rebrand and kind of go towards this, like they want to be this European feel, change the logos to be like less American, more European? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a no for me. That's a no.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a foul. Because it's not creative. I think that's the kind of biggest problem. And these logos, there's not a problem with updating your logos, especially when they were starting out in the 90s and early 2000s. Like a lot of those logos kind of just become kind of tacky, and they kind of do become a part of that era. And so I don't have a problem with like redesigning logos, because you see it with club teams all the time, everywhere in the world. You know what I mean? Everywhere in the world.
Yeah, Inter Milan just got a new logo. So
yeah. Juventus had to completely change their logo just today. You know what I mean? But the thing is, like the rebranding of the name, and the lack of creativity from it, I find a little disheartening.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, I lived in Portland, so you had the Portland Timbers, and that's very unique. And you just can't imagine them like rechanging something. So I think if you're gonna change it, it's got to come up with something better.
Yeah, I call it foul too. I think the MLS needs to stick to what they have, and they started off with mascots, and the NASL before had mascots, the New York Cosmos, the San Jose Earthquake, right, the Bay Area Earthquakes, whatever. All these the Timbers, like you said, the Vancouver Whitecaps. These are all old school names. Seattle Sounders. Like it's okay to have that name. That's not going to make you less or more appealing to fans. It's actually going to make you less appealing, to be honest. Because if my son was to be a fan, he's like, "Oh, I go for Columbus SC." It's like, what does that even mean? It's like kids and people want to be behind a mascot, and I think there's a lot of like this identity crisis. Like we want to be this European. Like no, Barcelona FC is Barcelona FC because it's in Barcelona. You can't be named after you are either your city, but it's like FC stuff is no fun. So I'm tired of the FCs, so I'm gonna call a foul on that too. No more FCs, no more SCs. No more.
Yeah. Last one for me, not soccer related. The new show Loki. Just a yes or no. You a Marvel guy?
I'm gonna probably go to the VAR because I'm okay with either way. I'm not a Marvel or comic kind of guy that follows that kind of stuff. If it comes on, I watch it, but I don't really follow too much. You know what I mean? I do love Black Panther and different things, but I don't follow too much. So I'm gonna just go to the VAR. I'm just gonna let somebody else make that call.
Yeah. Yes, for me, over the pandemic, I watched all the Marvel movies front and back to get caught up.
Oh, you're one of those. Okay.
Well, I don't know a lot, but I just wanted to catch up and see
feel it.
What is all
I
about.
enjoy the movies. I'm just saying I'm not a guy that knows what's going on most of the time.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I have to read a review instantly just to make sure I know what happened.
I feel it.
So, but I'm probably with you. I'm a VAR leaning towards yes, but I'm not gonna argue to death about it. But
okay.
Yeah, I got you with that. But yeah, so that's the first episode of the recording of this No Name podcast.
Yeah, no name right now, but it will have a name. And
we'll have a name though, so we'll work on it. But we really appreciate you guys listening, sticking with us. I had a lot of fun. Alex, we've had communication the last couple of weeks. I think it's gonna be great.
So it's gonna be fun, man. We'll do this weekly. We'll get this going, and I appreciate everyone listening. And like I said, we'll have by the time this is out, there's information to this. We'll have a name, we'll have a logo, we'll have different things.
Yeah, that's right. So everybody stay safe, spread some love. We love you guys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Euros.
All right, salud.